Welcome to part 3 of everything that Possessed isn't allowed to do on the Pugboi SMP. I created this because I enjoyed creating the first and second parts so much. Possessed is never to start a basement SSN, small stick nightclub, with Paul Praised out of jealousy of the BSCN again. Anyway, let's get on to the video. Everything more that Possessed isn't allowed to do on the Pugboi SMP. Possessed and Paul Praised aren't allowed to meet and conduct any kind of business deal. Let Greece 2008 be an example of why not. Possessed isn't allowed to justify the destruction of entire nations for the following reasons. I was bored. Fuck you, it's my show. They liked coffee instead of tea. They were overrated anyways, so if I gave you a little gold... You know what? Possessed isn't allowed to take anything considered explosive into any country. Period. Possessed is allowed to destroy the Dyson Adoption Centre, as we can't be bothered explaining to him that Dyson doesn't exist, but that doesn't mean that Possessed can destroy any other adoption centres. Although it is true that the bearer of the biggest stick would be entertaining if they got added to the plot, no. Not to mention that Possessed is no longer the plot writer, as he attempted to add them before. No, Possessed. The Pugboi SMP is not just Monica. It is, it's not, and the quicker you are to accept that, the better. Routzy did it, as he is the plot man now, is no longer a viable excuse. Blowing up a fake Pugtopia in front of Pugboi was funny once. Unless you want to be blacklisted, for your own good, Possessed, don't do it again. Just because your reality is different from ours, Possessed, that doesn't mean that you can sing to the bearer of the biggest stick that...
I imagine a future where I can...
Stop! Possessed isn't allowed to create a navy of Dark Oak Uber boats and attempt to blockade every faction in the SMP using them. Possessed isn't allowed to bribe Routzy to give him 10 canon lives. You know what? Possessed isn't allowed to do anything to influence the plot. Period. Possessed is not allowed to get past the previous rules by holding Sparky and Rose at crossbow point. Remember the last time you tried that, Possessed? Just because Possessed is incapable of feeling emotional attachment, at least we think so, that doesn't mean that he can exploit that in a war. Possessed is not allowed to trick everyone into thinking that he died by spilling red ink all over his desk and falling asleep in it. Not only did the resulting ink form a puddle on the floor that took 2 days to clean up, but you also ruined one of your best suits. Possessed is not allowed to flood the Pugtopia post office with junk mail addressed to the Three Amigos. It's not killing time, it can't be killing time, and there will never be a killing time, Possessed. Not even if Fusion asks nicely. Possessed is not allowed to cosplay as the bearer of the biggest stick, and the bearer of the biggest stick is not allowed to cosplay as Possessed, especially at the same time. Possessed is not allowed to end his logs with quotes from The Art of War, it gives the rest of the SMP severe PTSD, but he's still allowed to finish them with quotes from War and Peace, for now. Possessed is not allowed to troll Routzy by playing Warden sound effects for a jukebox. Possessed is not allowed to claim that he'll suffer withdrawal symptoms if he doesn't sing Rule Britannia for at least 2 hours. We've tested that theory, and it isn't true. Just because you won a single duel against Fusion 2 years ago, that doesn't mean that you can bring it up now, Possessed. Partially because you didn't technically win it, a drowned killed him, and also because if you don't stop, Fusion will kill you. Calling Okerban incested just because you forced her to marry a birch tree is right out. Possessed is not allowed to convince Fusion to go on yet another killing spree for fun. Possessed is not entity-born, and anyone who Possessed is gaslighted into thinking that cannot go within a 100-meter radius of him. Possessed is also not Dragonborn, and anyone who was there to witness his shouts is proof enough that he isn't. Bribing Routzy into influencing the plot counts as influencing the plot, Possessed. Nice try. Possessed is not allowed to call Okabana Yandere just because she only feels affection towards trees. You can't say anything either, Possessed. Possessed is also not allowed to claim that Monica is his soulmate just because she's entity born too. What does he even mean by that? Possessed is not allowed to say, "Your memes end here," as he kills any of the major characters, particularly Fusion. And finally, Possessed is not allowed to use this set of rules as content as he's out of video ideas. Wait, shit!